welcome to this session of Yavapai Speaks at Prescott E-News. I'm very excited for our special guest. She's the Yavapai GOP chairman, Kristin Baumgartner. And again, for those of you who are going to be watching, and I know you are because I've already had emails from Mojave County, Coconino, nothing over there in Apache County. I need to work with you folks over there. I don't know why no one's talking to me. I don't know why I'm talking to Apache County when they're not talking to me, but this is important. Yavapai County has a really historical basis politically in Arizona, and we're going to talk about those things. My guest today is Kristin Baumgartner, who is the new chairman of the Yavapai GOP. Kristin, you just got elected a couple of months ago, am I right?
Right, December 7th.
December, right. See, she's not correcting me like other guests on my show. They correct me. I don't understand that. And she has taken over for the GOP up here, and we're going to talk about that. You walked into a very important position, and maybe many people don't realize that because they think, it's politics. But this is a really important position. So give us an idea why you decided to run.
Okay.
And overnight, when you woke up the next morning, you're chairman, what happened? Did your eyes get bigger? Did you go, oh my goodness, what did I get into?
Well, it wasn't the next day. It was literally when the meeting ended. I was in charge. We transferred the keys. We went to the office. It was immediate. So that was a big change. But I guess one of the things, I was encouraged by some legislators that I know here, party people that have been in the party for quite some time, and some of the PCs that I've been leading in my precinct. And they said, you really should think about running. And at first I was resistant. I really didn't think that I should be the one. There's always others that are more qualified, you think. So I kind of decided, once Trump got really, really momentum rolling, I said, I want to get behind this. How can I help? What can I do? And so this was a way for me to contribute or continue to contribute like I have in Yavapai County.
That's neat. Now, you have a technological background.
That's true.
I don't. I have my GED, though. And yeah, I know. We don't talk about that either. Sensitive. But you have a technology background and marketing.
I do. I was 30 plus years in the technology industry.
Wow.
Sales, marketing. I was in regulatory for a while because I worked for a company called Verizon. Some may know that. And I had the opportunity to work there. And then in my final position, I worked for a Fortune 100 pharmaceutical company in New Jersey. And I had responsibility for organizational communications. Yeah. But what it was really is I was employed by the chief information officer. So my team did the communications and training globally for that company. So it was still IT, but a different slant.
Well, that's got to come in really handy taking over a GOP because, and correct me, please, there's marketing involved. Mm-hmm. There's got to be leadership, coordinating folks, and technology.
Well, I think it's a combination. In one of my jobs, I was a general manager, and I liken this job to that. There's P&L responsibility. You have to raise funds. It's important to do that. You have salespeople. We call them precinct committeemen. And those are our arms and legs that go out into the community, help us get the vote out. And then we have a support staff. We have a headquarters location just right off of Courthouse Square. So we need to be able to greet our voters, greet people that come in. So that's our support staff.
Now, for those that are not really that educated, and I'm not making fun right now, you're the chairman of the Yavapai GOP. How many people does that maintain or pertain to?
So there's over 90,000 Republican voters in Yavapai County. Okay. And so I consider myself responsible for communicating with those voters and getting them to come out and vote, just like they did. And just to make a thank you to those voters, we had a 96.4% turnout, Republican turnout in the last election. Everyone was excited, but this is excellent, huge numbers.
That's huge. So you're busy. If you have a formal meeting, how many people show up?
Well, that gets into the precinct committeemen.
Okay,
so if you think of those as our arms and legs out in the community, we have approximately 350.
Okay, so you call a meeting, about 300 people show up?
Approximately, yes.
Okay. When you don't call a meeting during your week, you're still busy. I remember you telling me that when we scheduled this, that you were out around the county, the legislative district, meeting with precincts and precinct committee people. So this is a big county, as you well know.
Right, yes. And I go to precinct, what they call precinct meetings, where the precinct committeemen come together.
Okay.
I also go out and have opportunities to meet with the public. I was doing a lot of presentations back during the election because people wanted to hear about our candidates, who they were, and we had a golden ticket of those candidates. And then they also wanted to hear about the ballot proposition. So I was doing a number of communications out to the community to help inform them.
Which fits right into your background, communications, marketing,
right.
leadership of people. So, yay, that's very nice. All right, I'm going to ask you again. You became GOP chairman, and which I think is great. It didn't even take overnight for your eyes to get big and go, what did I do? It took a couple of hours. What's been the change? You were involved before as a precinct committeeman and all that, so you've been involved, and then all of a sudden not all of a sudden, but then you become chairman. Your eyes had to get big. What do you see?
Well, I think it's just a different change, the different responsibilities that I talked about. It's more of a general management job. You have a lot of different functions that you're responsible for. And I think, being responsible for my precinct, I also had responsibility for the election oversight committee here for the Republican Party. So those responsibilities helped prepare me, I think, for what this role is about.
Now, what made you decide to run or seek the chairmanship?
Well, as I said earlier, I was encouraged by the legislators that I know here in LD1, former and current, and also others that are in the party that I felt, were influential in helping me make that decision. But I really, I felt it was important to support President Trump, and not that other people couldn't do that. But I felt if I could serve in some way to move his agenda forward in the next 2 years, and we have a lot of important positions that are up for election next year that we need to work on.
In the state.
Statewide, yes, all of our executive branch.
Now, you've been involved with the Yavapai GOP for a while. How long have you lived in Yavapai County? It could be Prescott, but Yavapai County.
Well, actually, I live in the county. I don't live in Prescott proper. Yeah, I live in the county, and I've been here. My husband and I retired 10 years ago. And before that, it's interesting. We had seen an advertisement in the Wall Street Journal about this great community in Prescott, Arizona, and we were in New Jersey. We thought, oh my gosh, where is this place? Well, we came here for a visit. Within 3 days, we had bought property back in 2004, and we've owned that land now since 2004, but we just fell in love with Prescott. Just absolutely gorgeous country.
So you've lived in Prescott,
10
Yavapai
years.
County, 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow, you've seen a lot of change.
I have, and I was amazed as I was headed out. I had a meeting in Sedona recently, and I was going down 69, and I hadn't been that way in a while. I thought, oh my gosh, the number of homes that have come in, it's just amazing.
Yes, that's exactly true. You're right. We're seeing a lot of change. In the 6 years I've been here, I've seen just in Prescott, but yeah, you go out to Prescott Valley. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's amazing.
What have you learned in the short time you've been together as GOP chairman? It's been a couple months, let's just say. What have you learned about the position?
I think, I try to apply what I learned in my business life to this job. Okay, so I likened it to being a general manager. Well, when I was in that role, I set objectives, I had measurements, and I made sure that there was a clear business plan going forward. And so that's exactly what I am doing right now. I'm in the process. I've created that plan with the help of my executive committee, and we've communicated it now to the next tier down, which we call our area directors. So they're an area director aligned with each of the 5 districts of our county supervisors. Okay. And so then in March, we're going to have our meeting with all of the precinct committeemen. And at that meeting, then I will roll out that strategic plan. But I'm a big proponent of if you tell people what's expected and you help them learn, train, deploy, that you will be able to meet those objectives. And it's very important that we do our fundraising. I want to say that is critical. We use the funds, one, for operational expenses. We have an office downtown, as I mentioned. But more importantly, we want to be able to put funding behind our candidates. We want to be able to help them be successful. And the other thing that was also, rather costly, but so important, we heard it from the voters, was our candidate golden ticket. In other words, we had to print those. They were legal size sheets because we had to show all the different races and show who our Republican candidates were. So that's costly. So those are the kinds of things that we want to be prepared for in 2026. So that's what the fundraising is an effort to do.
All right, I'm going to ask you, how's it going?
It's actually going very well. It's very well. As I said, I've got a great team behind me, and we had our first fundraising event on Monday. We had an inauguration celebration for President Trump. We had 100 people gathered together at the Centennial Center there in Prescott, and we watched him take the oath of office, heard his speech, and had a great party.
That's great. So fundraising is almost a full-time job as you move ahead. What about recruiting candidates?
Well, recruiting of candidates, it kind of goes both ways. We like to look for people out in the community, especially local races like the school boards, and try to encourage those folks to run. But they also come to us. I had a man come to me and says he's interested in running for office, and so I've connected him up with a colleague who has managed campaigns here in Yavapai County. So connecting a candidate that's interested, wants to learn, wants to hear about the ins and outs with someone that knows is so important. So I think that's one of the roles that we have as the party.
Since you've been chairman, again, only a couple of months, what do you see are, and you've already hinted at this with the fundraising and the organization and all that, and I'm not denying that or making fun of it and having you do it again, but what do you see are the issues for you, your agenda over the next 2 years? You're in for 2 years, I believe.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, so you've been in for 2 months, if you'll allow me that, basically. So you've got a long time ahead of you here.
I do.
Yeah. So what do you foresee are the issues, the topicals, the priorities that you want to establish and also project to communicate to Yavapai County, to all the LDs?
Well, I think, first of all, recruiting precinct committeemen. We actually get precinct committeemen based on 125 voters. So one PC for every 125 voters is our allocation.
Okay.
Okay. And they are elected positions. We just went through that cycle of electing PCs last year. So what one of my priorities is to make sure that we get all of those seats filled. And right now we have significant work to do. We're at about a little over 50% of that allocation. Okay. Now that's not unusual, but as we cycle, we've got a lot of people that come in and very excited about President Trump's agenda. So I think we're going to be able to recruit. But that is one of my top priorities, is to fill those seats. And that's important because those are the same people, to your point about campaigns, those are the same people that work on the campaigns. Those are the same people that go out and what we call door knocking. You know, they talk to people about the candidates. They talk about what's coming up. Topical issues relative to where they live. You know, different communities have different issues. So that's why it's so important that we get those seats filled.
Have there been any surprises? And that doesn't mean negative, but have you been surprised by in the last 2 months? And I mean that, not negative, not something, but just a surprise. I mean, I'm now chairman. I've got this vast county. I have 350 precinct committeemen and all. I mean,
yeah, I really don't think I've been surprised. If I had just come into this job and not had experience with the party up to now, I started out right after the 2020 election as a precinct committeeman. And from there, I formed a group in my community of grassroots activists. You know, I started getting involved. And so coming up through that line, I became captain of my precinct. And then, as I said, I was appointed as the election oversight committee chair. So you kind of went up the line, if you will, and gathered experience. So for the past 3 years, I've been learning. And I had the benefit of working with the past chair and the one before that. And so they're great ladies, and I learned a lot, and they were gracious enough to give me time when I asked for it. So I think that also helps. And I have a couple mentors here in the community that I also can go to if I'm too surprised.
Yeah. So I want to become chairman one day, and I'm here. What would you say would be the steps that I need to take? I become a precinct committeeman, And then what happened?
Well, the first thing that you have to do is, yes, you have to be a precinct committeeman.
Okay.
And precinct committeemen are elected every 2 years, just like our state legislators are.
Okay.
And so when we go through that cycle, you would go and get your petitions, signed, and then you go become elected. In order to be county chair, you have to be an elected PC. All right. I would also encourage you to, and we talked about this earlier, to become a state committeeman, because that's actually where you are at the state level making decisions about the officers and some of the bylaws and things that we use to run the party.
For the GOP in general, in Arizona.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Correct.
All right. So I got to
and
become
so
a
you
precinct
kind of
committeeman.
need to get what I call, up the ladder experience.
And that's what I'm asking is what's the process, so to speak?
That's pretty much the process.
Okay. And you've
and
done
then
that.
being a precinct captain, being an area director, there is a hierarchy within our party. So area director is right underneath the executive committee.
Okay.
Okay. And you can, to be county chair, you may want to run for one of the other positions on the executive committee first. So again, it's like any company. There's just different levels and ways of getting experience. And
so that's what you've done. You've moved. Okay. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Not intentionally. It just kind of fell to me. I wasn't striving to be the county chair.
Sure. But that's what happened.
That's what happened.
As you moved along.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. As I got more experience, I think it made sense. But that I wasn't starting out 3 years ago saying, I'm going to be county chair.
Nor am I. I'm not. I wanted to use me as an example.
I was going to say, are you campaigning now?
Well, thank you for signing in and joining. No. For people who may want to be a chair or want to be involved in the GOP, and what do? They come see you or come see the GOP office.
Absolutely.
And say, I want to be involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And we have volunteers that walk into the office all the time, and they may not be the ones that want to be precinct committeemen.
Okay.
But you can volunteer to work in the office.
Oh.
Okay. You can volunteer to be on a campaign. You don't necessarily have to be a precinct committeeman.
Okay.
So we do have volunteers in the community.
That's good
or
to
they
know.
might be, do a registration table at one of our events. There's just different ways that volunteers can also help us.
Let me ask you this. Could I sign up to volunteer? I don't want to be a precinct committeeman. I don't want to run for chairman.
Mm-hmm.
Not this year anyway. No, just kidding. But I just want to volunteer because I want to be involved in my community in Yavapai County.
Yes.
I can do that.
Absolutely.
Very cool. I wasn't quite sure of that myself, to be honest with you. So even though I'm playing a little bit, I really didn't know if you could do that. Well, very great. So you're still actively looking for people to volunteer, but also precinct committeemen and to be involved in the actual formality, correct me, of the GOP.
Correct.
Okay, cool. How's been the response by the Yavapai GOP with Trump's resounding winning? How's been the response?
Euphoric.
Yeah,
people are so excited and so jazzed up.
They are, aren't they?
And we had 13 people sign up to be precinct committeemen in January.
That's great.
So that's there are people that want to contribute to that.
And it seems that way across the country right now,
yes.
doesn't it?
Yeah, I do. I agree.
Yeah, and so that wasn't really a throwaway question, but I was just wondering if, since you've been out all over the county, are you seeing that, the euphoria and the people are hopeful for the first time in maybe 4 years? Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. So my guest has been the Yavapai County GOP chairperson, one of those. I'm going to get a letter on that. I'll get an email on that. Probably will. Kristin Baumgartner, and she has been a delight. And I'm going to ask her right here on air. Ready?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know it's tough. It's my show, though. I get to do these things with all these guests. Yeah.
All right, I'm ready.
Yeah, I get notified by their attorneys later, but it's I'm going to ask you to come back. I'd like to have you come back and give us some updates, maybe every 3 months or so. What's really happening? What do you see are the challenges for Yavapai as a whole? How are the citizens responding? And I don't care if they're independent. Now, I understand your position and I respect it. But how about independents? How about citizens who are really not sure what they want to do anymore? They're still here and they're subjected to our leaders when they get elected. So I'm sure there's a lot of questions and folks, if you have questions regarding the GOP and Miss Baumgartner, send them in or get a hold of her and let's air them. Let's put them out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we
Happy to talk to anybody.
Exactly. So Kristin Baumgartner has been my guest, and I'm really excited that she did say yes to come on. She is busy. She is traveling and meeting a lot of folks. She really is. So thanks for taking time. I know this is a lot going on with you right now. I just want to say thank you also for those of you who went ahead and took a chance and went down to Skull Valley and went to the Forge. This is not a commercial. I've been in there a couple of times. It's the old gas station as you come into Skull Valley on the left-hand side. Some new folks took it over, and I was concerned, as I shared in my last show, what might they do? Well, I found out they're locals. They have a big 5,500-acre ranch right behind the Forge there, and they are growing. Now, I'm not going to say this right, so don't write me. They're growing organic beef, chickens. They have 1,500 chickens, and they're getting more. And they're doing all homegrown stuff, and it's getting bigger. So I just wanted to say thank you for those of you who went out to the Forge out in Skull Valley. That's supporting local business, and that's one of the things we want to do here in Yavapai County. So there'll be other businesses coming on that are helping to contribute to Yavapai Speaks, and I want to introduce you to them. Thank you very much for joining us on Yavapai Speaks, and I look forward to seeing you next time.